This question is one that many people have sent in, a ton of people actually. So this is from a few weeks ago. AEW, their show was delayed. It didn't air at its normal time because of the NBA on TNT, causing a lot of NBA fans to tune into AEW seemingly for the first time and see Chris Jericho. Did you follow this at all? It went pretty viral, the reaction of NBA fans on Twitter to Chris Jericho.
I saw it on Twitter and saw people, I guess people were calling it NBA Twitter. Is there actually a group of people on Twitter that do nothing but tweet about the NBA like there are the group of people on Twitter about wrestling? Or is that it's just so many people watch basketball and the NBA that a lot of people tweet about it anyway?
I'm not exactly sure. This is the first I had really been exposed to NBA Twitter.
I don't know that there's any organized NBA Twitter or whatever like there is wrestling, because maybe basketball fans, maybe just don't care that much because they don't have any storylines to complain about. But yeah, well, I mean, why is anybody surprised? This is another thing that I've been saying for a long, long time. Whether you like it or not, Chris Jericho is the biggest mainstream name recognition star in AEW, specifically because of his years and years spent with the WWE when their ratings were much higher than they are now. It's not because he main evented the Tokyo Dome a couple of years ago. It's not because he's with AEW now. It's not because he was with WCW in 1998. It's because he was a big star on WWE TV for a significant period of time when they were doing much better ratings themselves than they are now. That's just math and common sense. That's not saying he's the greatest wrestler in AEW. Some people, well, no, the biggest star is this guy and that guy. No, that may be your pick for the best wrestler or your favorite wrestler. But there is nobody, even Cody was there for a shorter period of time, did not achieve nearly as much success. And I'm not saying that was his fault either. He was not used to the level that Jericho was. This is common fucking Kenny Olivier, give me a break. On the radar map of mainstream wrestling names in the United States, he ain't on it. Because the average person in the United States doesn't read the internet to get the Tokyo Dome results. They would have watched it if they're not particularly close wrestling fans, they would have watched wrestling from the WWE probably 10 or 15 years ago at least, and potentially glanced at it in a sports bar at some point if it was on. So with Jericho being, then that's the point, with Jericho being the person that they recognize of all of the people on that program, and they haven't seen him in 15 years, they're thinking, what the fuck? This guy is a wrestler from 15 years ago and he was established then. He's still wrestling, and oh shit, he doesn't look very good, and this is a knockoff promotion. Look at these other goofballs. That was the gist of Twitter.
Well, that's what it is. And to your point, Jericho is, in terms of name recognition, the biggest star they have. It makes sense taking a guy like that and putting him in the opening match on a show where you're going to get that big audience from the NBA, potentially still having the channel on. We've talked about his physique and its changes, and we watch him regularly. These are people who have not seen him in a long time, and this is their reaction to Chris Jericho. And that's what I thought was pretty interesting. These are non-wrestling fans.
But this is more than a hit piece on Jericho. Although that will obviously be one of the purposes this serves. And let's be fair, nobody looks the same after 15 years. Well, actually, Lance Storm does. And that's kind of funny. Lance Storm, if you put hair on him, right now looks the same physically he did, and probably he's a little lighter 30 years ago, and Jericho's the painting in fucking Dorian Gray's attic. But more importantly, they got a new audience who obviously knew who a wrestler from the past was to sample the program, and the feedback, besides Jericho being older and out of shape, was it's a knockoff program. They got that impression from seeing everything else about it that they were seeing about it. The guys he was in the ring with, the fucking overall tone of the program. That's what they thought. Well, this isn't, it's some knockoff. And that's why there's the test group I've been talking about. If you wanted to do a show to appeal to the same people that knew who all these guys were before you went on the air, then you have succeeded. But to make an impression on a group who doesn't live and die with wrestling and has not watched it in a while, but obviously watched it in the past because they knew who Jericho was and they knew what was going on there, thinks it looks like some kids. And that's why that, I'm sorry, they cannot grow an audience presenting something that looks like, oh, okay, this is, they hired, it basically told the people, we hired a big star that you know from a long time ago, and we put him here with all of our guys that have never been on TV before, and it shows. That was the market research from the NBA group, right?
I have some of the quotes here if you'd like to hear them.
Well, do proceed.
Why am I watching a pudgy Chris Jericho wrestling? I can't believe Chris Jericho is still wrestling. He's built like Miss Trunchbull. I don't know who that is.
I
Bruh. I'm sorry. Bruh. What is Chris Jericho doing on this bootleg AEW wrestling league? And why wrestlers' bodies fall off so bad? Chris Jericho, a king in this knockoff WWE, huh? Celtics win and Chris Jericho is fat. Good vibes only. Chris Jericho is fat as hell. Chris Jericho looks awful. Ugh. Is Chris Jericho's new persona supposed to be Bret Michaels? Can't believe Chris Jericho is still fighting. Dude is old, fat, and slow now. Laugh out loud. Yo, Chris Jericho done got fat. This AEW shit is funny as hell. Jesus Christ, Chris Jericho looks fucking awful. Laugh my ass off. My man Chris Jericho got a beer belly. Bro, Chris Jericho need to get out of the ring, laugh out loud. Dude lost it. Chris Jericho is still wrestling? He ought to be shamed. And what the fuck is AEW? And finally, Chris Jericho, fat as shit, with several smiley faces. You know,
several smiley faces.
But you know, the thing is, there aren't a lot of wrestlers physically who have dropped off to the degree Jericho has. I know he's older. He's not 40 years old anymore. He's not on the gas anymore, I don't think. But we've seen a lot of guys, more in the last generation than before, wrestle for a very long time. You know, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle. We've seen a lot of guys wrestle into old age. I mean, Flair's body changed, but there aren't that many. I can't think of any who have had the drastic physical change that Jericho's had. Can you?
Well, and Flair's started changing when he was already older than Jericho is now. I mean, Jesus Christ. But it's not even, you know, I go back and I look, I think about, you know, the territory days guys, they all wrestled longer into an older age, and it wasn't as obvious their deterioration because they didn't look as wonderful to begin with, so they didn't have as far to fall. They always just looked good. I think about Nick Bockwinkel. He still looked and performed physically the same at 55 as he did at 35. But then there was other guys that, you know, that fell off somewhat also. But I'm just saying that is not even the point of this program or of this sample of comments to me. It's they knew who one guy was, and there was nothing like, hey, wow, look at this shit, or hey, look at this one guy. It was all, God, this guy's fat, and the rest of this shit's outlaw. They got a shot at impressing a new audience. if there were some impressive people on the program being presented in an impressive way, then maybe one of those people would have made an impression. But the impression that a bunch of random ex-wrestling fans got was that Jericho's still wrestling, he looks like shit, and this is an obvious rip-off promotion. Or knockoff promotion, I should say, or cheap. If they knew the word outlaw, they'd have probably used it. There's your market research. I hate it when things that I say keep coming true. We probably are going to talk about another few of those on this program as well.